bosses, it's Winnie from Asian Boss. When we previously did a video about Americans living in Japan, a lot of you were actually surprised at how many Americans there are in Japan. And remember, we also did a video about Americans dating in China. Check them out if you haven't already. And naturally, you're gonna wonder what it is like dating in Japan for Americans. And that's exactly what we're gonna discover today. Let's go check it out. Just to start off, can you tell us where you're from and how long have you been in Japan?
Yeah, I'm from the United States, from Kansas, and I've been in Japan for almost 6 years now.
So I am from Los Angeles, California, United States. I've lived in Japan for almost 2 years now.
I'm from the United States. I was born and raised in East Detroit, Michigan, and I lived in Japan for almost 6 years.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, from America, and I've been in Japan for about going on 5 years.
I'm from New York, and I've been in Japan for about 5 years.
I'm from Maryland in the States, and I've been in Japan for about 3 years.
I'm from Georgia in America. I've been in Japan for 2 years.
I'm from New Jersey, which is right next to New York City, and I've been in Japan about 2.5 years now.
So today our topic is about Americans dating in Japan. Were you interested in dating Japanese from the first place?
Yeah, I kind of thought like I'm in a new country. Of course, I was single at the time. I want to, date somebody local.
It's not that I'm interested in dating a person from this country or this country or this country. Oh, I'm sorry. It's more like, there's good people everywhere. So I'm interested in dating in the country I'm living in. So of course I live in Japan, so I'm interested in dating here.
I've always been attracted to Japanese culture, and that includes, being attracted to Japanese women. But I feel like there's a misconception that a lot of Westerners think that Japanese women are very submissive and very timid. I'd like to break that stereotype right now. It's not the case. The reason I was attracted to Japanese women is really the opposite. I feel that they're very fun, very outgoing, and a lot of times have a really great sense of humor, yet at the same time can be very respectful and very quiet. It's almost like there's a public persona and a private persona, and I'm really kind of the same way.
Are both of you dating someone who's Japanese right now, actually?
Yeah, I've been dating a Japanese guy for about 6 months.
Currently, no, but I have dated a Japanese guy before.
My boyfriend is Japanese, so...
Oh, yeah. So how long have you guys been together, and, how did that happen?
We've been together for about 3 years, going on 4 as well. And it happened really naturally. Like, I was in a bar with my friends, just like 3 other girls, and he came up to me and he was just like, hey, have you seen this meme before? It was like some SpongeBob meme. And I was like, no. I was like, it was really funny. And then he was like, oh, can I add you on Snapchat?
Wow.
Yeah, he had Snapchat.
Basically, I met her at a language meetup. She just happened to be there. I didn't talk to her at all because I thought she was one of those types of agents. She was talking to some Caucasian guy. And I was disinterested in her because I thought she was a stereotypical woman that had, this white savior or whatever, Prince Charming. She wouldn't like me, I felt. However, it turned out to be a different case, and we eventually, all people at the meetup, went to eat food. We chatted, we had some common interests, and I asked her out, and she also speaks English. She's lived in Canada for 2 years, so the communication was really important for me.
From your experience, do you think Japanese people are quite open to dating Americans?
In my experience, I think so. Yeah, I've never met anyone who shied away from me just because I was American. I mean, people have maybe shied away from me because, like, I'm like, hi, how are you? And kind of, I don't know, I try to put myself out there, and maybe sometimes that intimidates people that aren't used to foreigners. And I don't mean to do that, but I just want to be friendly.
It's more like there's maybe a minority, I'd say 5% of people that are actually really open to it. And the rest, I would say, are not that interested in dating foreigners.
So why do you think this is the case?
Mostly because I've talked to people and that's what they said. And so after talking to many people, that's kind of the data that I have, the data that I see on TV. And then I think, some people are just more comfortable looking at a face that is similar to their face. A lot of Japanese people, they don't like people who have too much hair. They don't like people who have beards. They're kind of like into very clean people, but like Western people tend to have a more kind of more casual appearance, things like that too.
In Japan, there will be a certain subsect of people who kind of fetishize white people. That's kind of the type that I avoid, but they're out there.
For those who, just, I guess, have a thing for Americans, why do you think that's the situation?
I blame Disney. High School Musical, pop culture, Justin Bieber, all those that type of Hollywood mass-produced culture goes around the world, and it's really, I guess people grow up watching it and they're like, wow, it's so cool, and they think all Americans are going to be like that. But, similarly, many Americans think Japan's going to be like anime, so.
How do you think the societal attitude towards Americans in terms of dating has changed in Japan?
I would guess over the last, 10 years or so, people are becoming more open just in general. So, yeah, maybe people are slowly becoming more open to it. Japan is kind of slowly becoming more global, more diverse. Maybe 20 years ago, there were no Americans around to even think about dating.
Since everything's getting more modern, there's more access to social media, like Instagram, TikTok. Everyone's online now. They're more in tune to what the other cultures are doing, and there's more awareness of how people are spending their lives in other countries. So I think at least the younger generation are more open to American ideals or European ideals.
I feel like in the short time I've been here, it hasn't changed much. I would say the biggest difference I've felt is just going from the countryside to Tokyo. In the countryside, I get lots of people just staring at me and stuff like that. In Tokyo, I feel much more normal. The new big cool international culture that younger people seem to be getting into is more Koreans than Americans. I think K-pop has displaced our, Hollywood and Justin Bieber, so.
I don't have hard data to back this up, but I feel like if anything, Japanese people were more open to dating Americans 20, 30 years ago. I think that was a time when Japan was more of a big player on the economic stage. They were in this bubble phase. I think a lot of people had the money to go abroad and went abroad and were more interested in international culture in general. I think at the time foreigners were also kind of viewed as more special in Japan. It was more of a status thing maybe to have a foreign boyfriend. Those things have kind of disappeared now, and they haven't been replaced with a basic kind of healthy international mindset.
I do know because of recently the Stop Asian Hate, because of that, a lot of my Japanese guy friends have been a little bit scared to actually even match with Americans on Tinder. So it's definitely having an effect based on what's happening in American society. But I wouldn't say that they're all completely not open to dating Americans.
I think so as well. It's kind of difficult because of the whole coronavirus and the Asian hate crimes in America. But I think Japanese people are a little bit more open to Americans now, especially even sometimes people of color, like Americans as well.
Then would you say as an American it's easy to date Japanese people, or do you still feel like Americans tend to date other Americans here in Japan?
Well, I know a lot of my friends, they tend to date a lot of other foreigners here in Japan because it's just easier for them, it's just the language barrier still is a big thing here. Especially if you just don't want to deal with cultural differences. They just think it's easier to date another American or date someone they can share their beliefs with.
I think Americans tend to hang out with Americans more often in Japan because hanging out with Japanese people is a very challenging thing to do. The reason being is because everybody who is an adult is usually too busy to do anything. So, I think Americans usually tend to hang out with other foreigners as well as Americans.
I find that in Japan, it's hard to meet people sort of what we might say naturally, at a bar or at a book club or something. People are so shy generally. Yeah. It's just easier to meet people online. I think a lot of Japanese people meet their partner through coworkers or through friends, right. But obviously when you're a foreigner here, you don't have many friends or people to introduce you to people. So
when it comes to dating or relationships, what would you consider some of the cultural differences that was most surprising to you?
The pace of sex is much different. And when I came here, everybody says in public that they don't hook up, they don't have sex. But I was so confused, like, why are there so many love hotels?
Yeah.
If nobody's having sex, why are all these love hotels in business? But it turns out they just do it very secretly, or maybe they even become official so that they can have sex and then break up very quickly. Yeah, but like in the US, we don't need to become official just to hook up, so.
Ghosting. Like, Japanese women are the masters, Japanese men and women are the masters of ghosting people. Like, they'll just, talk you up, maybe go on a date or two, you think everything's good, and then they just never message you again. Of course, people do this in the United States, but it was crazy here. Like, I would have like an hour or two conversation with a woman, think we have like a connection here, and then, I message her and I never get a reply.
My boyfriend right now, he kind of expected me to always wake up and cook for him.
Really?
That was like one thing we totally had to talk about when we first started dating. He was like, oh, like, I'm about to go to my part-time job, like, where's my bento? And I was like, what do you mean, where's your bento? So that was definitely one thing that caught me off guard, just kind of like the idea of what femininity is in Japan and how a woman is expected to act around her boyfriend. That kind of threw me off.
Yeah, but were you able to kind of communicate or you're actually making him like breakfast every day now?
I'm not going to lie, I did make the bento for the first week, but then I was like, I can't do this every day. So I did talk to him about it.
And then he was fine with it?
Yeah, he was fine with it.
So for me, it's actually the eating culture. I didn't notice until I went on a date with a Japanese guy. Apparently, you're not supposed to talk and eat at the same time, like make conversation. So I would look up for my food and I'm like, oh, it's delicious, right? And he's like, why are you talking to me? And I'm like, okay.
Have you ever met like Japanese parents by any chance?
God, no. I avoid them like the plague.
Do you think there's some stereotype towards, like, why would you avoid them?
Well, actually, I avoid all parents, so not just Japanese parents, but yeah, I don't know if it's because I have a stereotype of Japanese parents. There is a stereotype that they're like, you're meeting the parents, maybe you're on the path to marriage, maybe, but yeah. I think it's just because I think parents are scary in general.
That's funny you ask. I did, like 2 weeks ago, I met my girlfriend's parents for the first time, and we've been together for over a year, and her parents wouldn't even talk to me on the phone. Like, it was strange for me. That is definitely a weird cultural difference. Like, I would try to say hello to her mother on the phone, she wouldn't want to talk to me. I thought that was really creepy. And then eventually my girlfriend said, you know what, they need to meet you. So she took me to her hometown. I met her parents, I got her dad drunk, and we had a great time. And he was, apparently, I don't remember this because he blacked. He blacked out, but he was talking about why I'm bald. And then I was trying to explain to him in Japanese why I'm bald and shave my head. I was like, bro, I don't want to look like a samurai. And they thought that was really funny. And my girlfriend's mother was, telling me never to bring alcohol again because she'd never seen, her husband this, talkative and stuff like that. But it was a great experience.
Well, my current boyfriend's mother is very interested in English, and she's so kind, and she really wants to practice what she's learned with me, and like her excitement about like English and American culture like makes me feel so warm and fuzzy on the inside, because like in America, I don't really have conversations about different cultures or different languages with my friends' moms, but then here it just opens up this door to all these really in-depth and interesting conversations, and just, I don't know, it's really fulfilling speaking with her.
Is there anything that your boyfriend was actually surprised by, something that you did that was considered normal in the US?
Yeah, I'm really expressive. As you can tell, I'm always doing this or making wah faces or kind of these sounds like yay. And, kind of in the beginning, he was a little like he always thought, yeah, like something happened, but I just remembered something, hey, guess what? So that took him a while to get used to.
Yes, my wife thinks it's weird that I always prefer to take a shower over taking a bath. And it's not because I don't like baths, I just think that showers are faster and easier. You don't have to heat water up and fill up a tub. And then, and she loves taking baths, and she'll say, I'm gonna take a bath, do you wanna take one? And I say, no, that's okay, I'll just take a shower. And she's like, eh? Why? Why don't you want to take a bath? And so that was one thing that really was, she couldn't wrap her head around why I didn't want to.
Cooking for her, cleaning, helping her clean her apartment, like vacuuming, just doing household chores for her. While she would be working from home, if I had like a day off of work, I would clean the apartment that that she lives in, because I had nothing else to do. And she was like, wow, you clean my apartment, you're a great, boyfriend. But for me, I'm like, it's normal, like we're here all the time. If I'm gonna be using your stuff, I should clean it. Like Japanese women are expected to do things like the cooking and the cleaning and the blah, blah, blah. I'm an independent person. Like, I was raised by my mother only, and I learned how to do these things by myself, like laundry. Oh, yeah, I hung up her clothes. Like I did her laundry without her asking. Doing things without her asking me made her pretty much fall in love with me.
It's like randomly like hugging people and just like randomly just talking to people on the street. Like, lots of people here, they don't talk to strangers, or they don't, like give a little wave, or like
Especially in Tokyo.
Yeah, especially in Tokyo. It's kind of cold here. But whenever I see like another, like, another American or another person of color, I do a little nod, or I do a little hey, wave. And he was like, do you know them? Do you know them? Like, why are you waving at them? Like, are they your friend? And I was like, no, they're not my friend. I'm just being nice. I'm being friendly.
What would you consider the most challenging part of dating a Japanese person?
Well, I mean, the language barrier is definitely one, but I would say also like how to take things to the next level without like looking like a playboy, or like how to move too fast or too slow. Like, as an American, when I'm in America, that type of thing feels more or less natural. But in Japan, like, I just don't have a feel for that. And so I don't want to make people feel like I'm moving too fast or too slow, but,
Trying to figure out what's the right pace.
Yeah, what's the right pace, what's acceptable. I mean, there's other things like in America, most places in America, you can hold hands in public, no problem. I would say a lot of Japanese are much more shy about public displays of affection. If I tried to kiss my Japanese girlfriend on the train, she'd be like, what are you doing? We're in public. And I'm like, oh, rejected. But, but it's actually cultural thing.
Yeah. I feel like the most challenging part is definitely communication, and not like language barrier, but more so that he tends to not communicate his feelings, which I think is a part of Japanese society, if I can like allude to that commentary. But I think he does bottle up his feelings unless I actually outwardly ask him, which has been a little bit challenging with dating him.
So how have you been like dealing with it? Is it that you try to like adapt as well, or you usually just try to communicate with him in some specific ways?
Yeah, so I've become like pretty overbearing. I'm like, tell me about your day, tell me what's bothering you, why are you worried? And then he'll just slowly start to tell me, and it's like good for our communication.
Overall, what has the dating experience in Japan taught you about the Japanese culture?
It's definitely taught me that women are still kind of trapped in a bubble when it comes to dating. Like, we are still expected to fulfill certain responsibilities like cooking, cleaning, like, which I do, which is fine. But it's not really as half-half as in the States, as I feel. That kind of taught me that.
I feel like they want us to stay in this like traditional sense of like how a woman is supposed to be in the house and like clean up and do things for the man, like even plan dates and do things that are very specific that women would do, but anyone can do it.
Definitely, it's taught me a lot about each country having its own idea of what is consent, what is acceptable in a relationship, what is acceptable between men and women who are just friends. Before you leave your country, you think your country's rules are universal, and they're really not.
I realized that this characteristic is so Japanese. It's something I can't really say. Like, I can't really say all Japanese women are like this or all Japanese men are like that. And it's such a nice thing to know that, because a lot of people put like umbrella terms on so many different people. Like, oh, all women are like this, or all white women are like this, or all Japanese men are like this. And that's really not the case. And it's such like a refreshing thing to be reminded of.